Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Deva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So today being the weekend, we'll discuss Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text number 1 through 7. Text 1. Arjun uvacha sannyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha shansasi yachrayatyorekam tanme bruhi sunishitam. Arjun said, O Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? So here Arjun is again getting confused because Krishna gives in the fourth chapter. Fourth chapter was entitled Transcendental Knowledge. But towards the end, Krishna says you should do work. You should work. Work with devotion. Or in some other places, he said you should renounce work. So Arjun is getting again confused. Now, what does he want? Actually, Arjun is not confused. He's asking on our behalf, actually. Because people, most of the times, they mistake that uh, what happens, they get frustrated by material work. Then they take it to some yoga practice, whether bhakti yoga or jnana yoga or hatha yoga. And for them, taking up yoga practice means no work because work leads to frustration. Work leads to too much stress and too much of material desires, and so many things are related to work. So they say work means that's this, so we will not work and we will just engage in yogic practice. But this is not what Krishna wants. So let's see what Krishna wants. So that's why this chapter is entitled Karma Yoga and then Action in Krishna Consciousness. Chapter 3 was Karma Yoga, simply. Now, chapter 5 is Karma Yoga, but action in Krishna consciousness. So Arjun is asking to, to dispel his doubts again. Purport. In this fifth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that the work in devotional service is better than dry mental speculation. Devotional service is easier than the latter because being transcendental in nature, it frees one from reaction. So this is the beauty of devotional service. It frees one from reaction. Means work has to be done. Definitely work has to be done, but work without material reaction. In the second chapter, preliminary knowledge of the soul and its entanglement in the material body were explained. How to get out of this material engagement by buddhi yoga or devotional service was also explained therein. In the third chapter, it was explained that a person who is situated on the platform of knowledge no longer has any duties to perform. See, that's where Arjun got confused. Here he is saying, if you have knowledge, you don't have any duties to perform. So whether I should take knowledge or work. And in the fourth chapter, Lord told Arjun that all kinds of sacrificial work culminate in knowledge. However, at the end of fourth chapter, Lord advised Arjun to wake up and fight. So Arjun got confused. Now what to do? Therefore, by simultaneously stressing the importance of both work in devotion and inaction in knowledge, Krishna has perplexed Arjuna and confused his determination. Just like in one verse we studied that Krishna says, one who sees action in inaction and inaction in action, he is the right seer, he is the right yogi. So again, Arjuna is confused. Now what to do? Arjun understands that renunciation in knowledge involves cessation of all kinds of work performed as sense activities. But if one performs work in devotional service, how is work stopped? In other words, he thinks that sannyas or renunciation in knowledge should be altogether free from all kinds of activity because work and renunciation appear to him to be incompatible. because he cannot add the two. He appears not to have understood that work in full knowledge is non reactive and is therefore the same as inaction, as same as akarma. He inquires therefore whether he should cease work altogether or work with full knowledge. So, very important for us because we are trying to understand this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, whether we should continue with work or not, whether we should continue working at soprasteria, whether we should continue taking care of our families, taking care of our parents, working for the society or not. Important for us to understand this. Now let's say what Krishna says. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sannyasa karma yogascha nishreyaskaravubho tayostu karma sannyasat karma yogo vishishyate. The personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work. So both are good. He's not saying one cannot renounce work. Both are good, but work in devotion is better. Nishresa karavobo. Fruitive activities seeking sense gratification are cause for material bondage. As long as one is engaged in activities aimed at improving the standard of bodily comfort, one is sure to transmigrate to different types of bodies, thereby continuing material bondage perpetually. So in Bhagavatam it is said, people are mad after sense gratification, and they do not know that this present body, which is full of miseries, is a result of one's fruitive activities in the past. Although this body is temporary, it's always giving one trouble in many ways. Therefore, to act for sense gratification is not good. One is considered to be a failure in life as long as he makes no inquiry about the real identity. So, fruitive action is bad, no doubt, because this present body we guard because of the fruitive activities, because the results of the fruitive activities we have done in the past. But towards the end, it's Bhagavatam says, also the mind may be engrossed in fruitive activities and influenced by ignorance. One must develop a love for devotional service to Vasudeva. Only then can one have the opportunity to get out of the bondage of material existence. So that is a key here. Therefore, the gyan or knowledge that one is not this material body is not sufficient for liberation. One has to act in the status of spirit soul. Otherwise, there is no escape from material bondage. So, action in Krishna consciousness is not, however, action on the fruitive platform. Activities performed in full knowledge strengthen one's advancement in real knowledge. So, this is important. Means one has to have the knowledge and one has to do the activity, service. Very, very important. But activities in the full knowledge that it is ultimately everything comes from Krishna, everything should be engaged in the service of Krishna, and that engagement in the service with love and devotion, that is bhakti. Simple as that. As long as the heart is not purified, one has to work on the fruitive platform. But action in Krishna consciousness automatically helps one escape the result of fruitive action, so that one need not descend to the material platform. Therefore, action in Krishna consciousness is always superior to renunciation, which always entails a risk of falling. But then again, we have to see whether our action is in Krishna consciousness, even though we are in the process of bhakti, or it is still on the level of body consciousness. That we have to see. That's why we have to introspect every day. And once we get used to introspect every day, that means we are becoming conscious. That's why Prabhupada said, before becoming Krishna conscious, we have to become conscious. So we have to be conscious of our thoughts, of our words, of our activities. In fact, more of thoughts, because thoughts are the ones that will translate into actions or words. So we have to be very conscious, very um, uh, clear about what we are thinking, because thinking is in our hands actually. Thinking is what we can control. Afterwards, after thinking becomes so strong, then the words and actions we cannot control. It's very difficult afterwards. So we have to be very careful of a thought process. Very, very careful. Once we become conscious of that, then automatically will no bad thoughts will enter our mind. But in the beginning or throughout, actually, we have to be conscious. We have to be careful what we are thinking about, how we are thinking about others. It's very important. When a person eager to achieve liberation renounce things related to Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking them to be material, their renunciation is called incomplete. Renunciation is complete when it is in knowledge that everything in existence belongs to the Lord and that no one should claim proprietorship over anything. One should understand that factually nothing belongs to anyone. Then where is the question of renunciation? So this renunciation, when when we understand that everything in actuality belongs to Krishna and we use everything in the service of Krishna, that is real renunciation. That is called Yukta Vairagya. Otherwise, like in the shloka Prabhupada quoted that this is called Falgu Vairagya. Falgu means it looks like renunciation, but it's not. Means um, when we give up something, thinking, oh, it is material, so we don't want to touch it. We don't want to use it. Like there was an example of a yogi was given, and he used to say, or his followers used to say, this Babaji is so renounced, he doesn't touch money at all. So people who used to give donation, his disciples used to uh, ho- get hold of it and take care of all the expenses. But this is not real renunciation, actually, according to Rupa Goswami, because the money also belongs to Krishna. One has to just be careful in using everything in service of Krishna. That is real renunciation. But then again, it comes to our thought process. And that's why the word again and again comes here is Krishna consciousness, consciousness, consciousness. What is our consciousness? When we are doing anything, when we are thinking of, or when we are speaking of anything, what is our consciousness? That is what we have to be careful about. That's what we have to be able to check. Even if it, I mean, in the beginning, yes, it is going to be very, very difficult. So even if we check, say maybe 1% of time in the whole day, what is my consciousness when I'm saying something, when I'm doing something? Am I being Krishna conscious or am I being just self-conscious? There are only two consciousness, either body or Krishna. There's nothing else. So that we have to see. Text 3. Geya nitya sannyasi yona dveshti na kankshati nirdvando hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated. O mighty Aunt Arjuna. So one who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. So neither hates nor desires. So this same theme was there in the second chapter. Nabhinandanti na dveshti means get he doesn't becomes happy when he receives something desirable, and he doesn't hate when he receives something undesirable. That's a perfect yogi. So one who's fully in Krishna consciousness is always a renouncer because he feels neither hatred nor desire for the results of his actions. Because then he understands that whatever is given, it's given by Krishna's mercy only. Whether this is what I wanted, when I wanted, how much I wanted or not, it's all up to Krishna. So only a Krishna conscious person can be a true renouncer. Such a renouncer dedicated to the transcendental loving service of the Lord is fully qualified in knowledge because he knows his constitutional position in his relationship with Krishna. He knows fully well that Krishna is a whole and that he is part and parcel of Krishna. Such knowledge is perfect because it is qualitatively and quantitatively correct. The concept of oneness with Krishna is incorrect because a part cannot be equal to the whole. Knowledge that one is one in quality yet different in quantity is correct transcendental knowledge, leading one to become full in himself, having nothing to aspire to or lament over. So this is the real position of a sannyasi or a renouncer because he understands everything actually belongs to Krishna and every result actually comes from Krishna. Krishna's mercy only. There's nothing else. So that knowledge, coming to that level of knowledge it's difficult. And that is where we have to uh, achieve. That is what we have to achieve. Just a second. Sankhya Yoga Prithak Bala Pravadanti na Pandita Ekamapi Asthita Samya Ubhyor Vindate Phalam. Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. So Sankhya Yoga, the word Sankhya Yoga has come. Sankhya Yoga is what? When we try to analyze the material world in terms of in terms of the elements, number of elements it is made up of. So that is called Sankhya Yoga. Just a sec. Means one who understands that the universe, whole material universe, is made of like Lord Kapil Dev in Shivan Bhagavad, he explains it's made of 26 elements. So if he understands these 26 elements basically come from Krishna in the form of Mahavishnu, and they should be used in the service of Krishna only. So then he understands the real Sankhya Yoga. Then the yoga is there. That means he can connect with the Lord, connect his consciousness with the Lord. So Karma Yoga means working for Krishna. Sankhya Yoga means understanding everything in the material universe comes from the Lord and they should be engaged in the service of the Lord. So there is no difference. So that's why Krishna says only the ignorant speak of devotional service as being different from analytical study of the material world. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. So that is the ultimate understanding. The aim of the analytical study of the material world is to find the soul of existence. The soul of the material world is Vishnu or the super soul. Devotional service to the Lord entails service to the super soul. One process is to find the root of the tree, and the other is to water the root. So both are same. The real student of Sankhya philosophy finds the root of the material world, Vishnu, and then in perfect knowledge engages himself in the service of the Lord. Therefore, in essence, there is no difference between the two because the aim of both is Vishnu. So that is the real understanding, real meaning of Sankhya Yoga. Means not just to find out the root of the tree, but ultimately we have to water that root. And Karma Yogis, they directly water the root without maybe without not having full knowledge or maybe having some partial knowledge, but they end up watering the root. Devotional bhakti yogis, they water the root with love and devotion. That's the only difference. Text 5. Yat sankhya prapyate sthanam tad yogarapi gamyate ekam sankhyam cha yogam cha yah pashyati sapashyati. One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are. So, the real purpose of philosophical research is to find the ultimate goal of life. Since the ultimate goal of life is self realization, there is no difference between the conclusions reached by the two processes. By Sankhya philosophical research, one comes to the conclusion that the living entity is not a part and parcel of the material world, but of the Supreme Spirit whole. So, consequently, the spirit soul has nothing to do with the material world because it's not part of this material world. His actions must be in some relationship with the Supreme. When he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is actually in his constitutional position. In the first process, Sankhya, one has to become detached from the matter, and in the devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to the work of Krishna consciousness. So factually, both processes are same. So this is the result of, if one properly follows the Sankhya Yoga principle also, he will ultimately come to devotional service. It's easy to understand it this way. Suppose um, suppose we are sitting in ISKCON Delhi building. There are too many rooms, many like gardens are there, and seminar hall, auditorium, museum, temple hall, restaurant, offices, so many things are there. So Sankhya Yoga means if one tries to figure out how much cement, how many bricks, how much steel, how much sand, how much mud, how many, and other items, how many fans, how many lights, how many ACs, no, so on and so forth. How much of all these were used in making this building? But that is Sankhya, that is analyzing. Sankhya Yoga would be to understand, but just by understanding how much of everything was used in making this building is not enough until we understand what's the purpose behind making this building. So the purpose behind making this building of ISKCON Delhi is to serve Radha Parthasarathi and to preach the message of Krishna. That's all. So one who understands that message, understands that purpose, is already a devotee. And one who understands everything and then he understands the purpose, then he becomes a Sankhya yogi. And the ultimate end of both is same, to serve Radha Krishna and to preach the message of Krishna. That's all. So so some people, because not everybody is equal, everybody has different sanskaras, everybody has different way of looking at things. So Sankhya Yoga is for those who want to analyze things in detail, but ultimately they should, if they are following a proper guru, they will come at the same understanding and the um, same destination if they follow the process properly. That's all. So both processes will take us to the same path, the same destination. Text 6. Sanyasastu mahabaho dukkam aptum ayogataha yogyukto munir brahma nachirena digachati. Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. So, just by renouncing activities, means sannyasastu, that will not make one happy until we engage ourselves in the devotional service of the Lord. Because the soul, like in the second chapter, when Krishna was speaking about the soul, he says soul is very active. Even in the conditioned life, the one we are leading today, these days, when the soul is engaged in this material body, still the soul is very active. 24/7, it's doing something. If not acting physically, it's always thinking. The mind is always working. The soul is very active. So it needs some activity. So better to engage in devotional service, which is a perfect activity for the soul. There are two classes of sannyasis, or persons in the renounced order of life. The Mayavadi sannyasis are engaged in the study of Sankhya philosophy, whereas the Vaishnava sannyasis are engaged in the study of Bhagavatam philosophy, which affords the proper commentary on the Vedanta Sutras. Mayavadi sannyasis also study the Vedanta Sutra, but use their own commentary called Sharirak Bhashya, written by Shankaracharya. The students of Bhagavad school are engaged in devotional service of the Lord according to Pancharatric regulations, and therefore the Vaishnava sannyasis have multiple engagements in the transcendental service of the Lord. So the bhakti yogis, they're always engaged in the service. The long purport, the Vaishnava sannyasis who are engaged in devotion service are happy in the discharge of their transcendental duties, and they have the guarantee of ultimate entrance into the kingdom of God. The Mayavadi sannyasis sometimes fall down from the path of self-realization and again enter into material activities of a philanthropic or altruistic nature, which are nothing but material engagements. Therefore, the conclusion is that those who are engaged in Krishna conscious activities are better situated than the sannyasis engaged in simple speculation about what is Brahman and what is not Brahman, although they too come to Krishna consciousness after many births. So the straightforward and easy process is to be engaged in bhakti yoga, understanding Krishna is all alone and Krishna is my ultimate shelter and he is my ultimate object of love. Text 7, last verse for today. Yog yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriya sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvanapi na lipyate. One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. So one who is on the path of liberation by Krishna consciousness is very dear to every living being, and every living being is dear to him. Why? This is due to his Krishna consciousness. Means one who loves Krishna, he naturally will love all the Krishna's creation. So everything, everybody will be dear to him. Such a person cannot think of any living being as separate from Krishna, just as the leaves and branches of a tree are not separate from the tree. He knows very well that by pouring water on the root of the tree, the water will be distributed to all the leaves and branches. Or by supplying food to the stomach, the energy is automatically distributed throughout the body. Because one who works in Krishna consciousness is servant to all, he is very dear to everyone. So at the same time, he is also dear to everyone because he is in this mood, in this consciousness that I am servant of everybody. Why? Because he understands he is servant of Krishna and he is servant of Krishna's energy, and everybody is energy of Krishna. So he understands I am servant of everybody. So that should be the mood. And when somebody is in such a humble mood of being a servant, nobody can be envious of him because how can anybody be envious of a servant? If I go to somebody's house and he has a servant and the person himself is very rich, if I am going to be envious of anybody, if it could be of that person who's rich, not of a servant, some low menial servant, I'll never be envious of him because I don't want his position. So that's why being a servant is very safe position. So we should try to be servant. And because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is pure in consciousness. Yeah, excuse me. And because he is pure in consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. And because his mind is completely controlled, his senses are also controlled. Because his mind is always fixed on Krishna, there is no chance of his being deviated from Krishna. So that's the essence of bhakti. Means if he is he's dear to everybody, everybody is dear to him. He is in pure consciousness. His pure consciousness means mind will be controlled. Mind is controlled, the senses will definitely be controlled. And senses are controlled means there is no chance of him falling down. We fall down because our senses are not in our control. Mind is not in control of the intelligence because intelligence is not pure. It should be actually controlled by the soul. So the whole process that we adopt is wrong. Nor is there a chance that he will engage his senses in matters other than the service of the Lord. He does not like to hear anything except topics related to Krishna. He does not like to eat anything which is not offered to Krishna, and he does not wish to go anywhere if Krishna is not involved. Therefore, his senses are controlled. A man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone. Again, if our senses are in control, we cannot be offensive to anybody either. Means then there's no chance of falling down. One may ask, why then was Arjun offensive in battle to others? Wasn't he in Krishna consciousness? Arjun was only superficially offensive because all the assembled persons on the battlefield would continue to live individually as a soul cannot be slain. So spiritually, no one was killed on the battle of Kurukshetra. So therefore, while fighting on the battle of Kurukshetra, Arjun was not really fighting at all. He was simply carrying out the orders of Krishna in full Krishna consciousness. Such a person is never entangled in the reactions of work. So when Arjun was fighting, obviously he was not fighting saying Haribol, and just bowing down before Karna and Bhishma and Duryodhana, no, I'm your humble servant. No, because he was fighting on behalf of Krishna under the orders of Krishna and being fully Krishna conscious, understanding he is fighting for Krishna, for the pleasure of Krishna. So means he was not offensive at all because he wasn't doing it for himself. He was in complete Krishna consciousness. So that stage, of course, we have to achieve that stage. So many times Prabhupada also, he had chastised people, he had called them so many times, he called them rascals. And somebody might say, oh, he wasn't very humble. Of course, superficially, Prabhupada wasn't humble. But inside he was humble because this was the only way he could serve Krishna properly, by bringing the fallen souls back to Krishna's service. So we have to understand the whole thing, and then we can conclude that whether Prabhupada was humble or not, or whether Arjun was humble or not. Or was Arjun offensive when he was shooting arrows at Bhishma Pitama? Or when he killed Karna, although Karna was without a weapon. He killed Karna because Krishna told him to. So he wasn't humble when Arjun wasn't humble when he wanted to leave the battlefield. Arjun was humble when he followed the instructions of Krishna and fought the war. So that is the real meaning of humility. So anyway, I'll stop here. See anybody has any questions, or Subbu Prabhu, if you want to comment, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
No questions, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
You tell about Vairagya. Can you tell me how much type of a Vairagya and which one?
Oh, there are many types. Prabhupada just explained 2 types here. Yukta Vairagya. Yukta Vairagya means engaging everything in the service of Krishna. Means not thinking that, oh, because this is not mine, I cannot use it. Or then Falgu Vairagya, which is false renunciation. Thinking,
Okay.
just like it is explained, na? If somebody finds not 100, like 2,000 rupee note on the street, so one kind of Vairagi, he will say, "Oh, it doesn't belong to me, I'm not going to touch it," and he goes away.
Mm.
But that's not the real renunciation. Other type will come and he'll take the 2,000 rupee note and put it in his pocket. But that is not Vairagi at all, that is a karmi. And another person will come. He finds a 2,000 rupee note, find the real owner of that money and gives it to him. But on top of it, there is real Vairagi who find the note and brings it to real owner of the money, which is Krishna. So that is Yukta Vairagi.
That is it.
But then there is also another Vairagi called Markat Vairagi. Markat is like monkey. He jumps from one branch of a tree to other branch. But he lives naked because he doesn't wear clothes. So people might think he's a Vairagi. But they don't understand he's jumping from one branch to another in search of fruits or something to eat. That's not Vairagya. And then there is Shamshan Vairagya.
Shamshan
Vairagya is when we all go to Shamshan and somebody dies in our near dear ones, we all go to Shamshan to cremate the body. And at that time we say, oh, this is all temporary, everything will end here and this and that. And that is Shamshan Vairagya, because as soon as we get out of that place, we again come back to our previous mentality of eat, drink and be merry.
Okay.
And these days people, not even before coming out of even when the body is burning, dead body is burning, they start doing their businesses over the phone because they don't understand nothing.
There is another, Prabhuji, there is another Vairagya called.
Yes, please go.
Prasav Vairagya.
Which one?
Prasav Vairagya.
Prasav, okay.
So they say that the lady who gives birth to a child, she develops a Vairagya that she won't undergo this process again. And then as soon as everything is fine, then it's business as usual.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Thank you.
So there is a 5 Vairags. 5 type of Vairagya.
These are different. No, these are like Markat, Shamshan, or Prasav Vairagya. These are the not real Vairagya. But these are different names given to people mentality.
Okay.
But the real one is Yukta Vairagya or Falgu Vairagya.
Fine. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so I guess we can stop here. Everybody enjoy Rath Yatra today, Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra. If you cannot go, at least watch it on TV or net and get the mercy of Lord Jagannath. Hare Krishna. Jai Jagannath. Jai Shila Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Jai Jagannath.